What's up, guys? We are back with another Mezco 112 Collective review. That's right, we're doing another one. So the first one was Baron Ben's and the Aquaticons because I could not stay away from that. And today we're taking a look at my third Mezco figure in the 112 Collective. I went back and got a Space Ghost, but I never did a review on that. We're taking a look at the Silent Screamers Series 1 Nosferatu, which is something that kind of came out of left field. I had no idea that anything like this was coming, and it just kind of struck me as something that I wanted because, frankly, it looked fantastic from all the promo shots, from D Amazing's review. Obviously, he did a fantastic job showcasing it there. The stop motion kind of preview that they did for it, the whole thing really sold me on this figure, and it looks pretty fantastic. And the presentation here, from a packaging standpoint too, really did it for me. So we've got a lunchbox style release. It's a pretty big lunchbox though. This is a man's meal in here basically. You've got a shot of Nosferatu on the front here, and then you've got some imagery of him on the side, right side up and then upside down on this side, and then the back has got more of the same here, but the front of course is a little different because you've got the Mezco 20 years logo there. So really awesome presentation. I really dig this kind of stuff. This particular release did come with a shirt and like a cell from that stop motion animation they did. Stuff that I don't necessarily need in this release. I would have been happier with a smaller price point, but I do think the overall presentation here is really fantastic, and this kind of packaging really does it for me. It's very different, it's unique, and the imagery here is just really cool, and it gets me excited for the figure. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our Nosferatu from Mezco in the 112 Collective line. So this guy is pretty interesting. There is just, frankly, there's a lot to like about this figure because not only does he look amazing, he moves around pretty well too. And again, you know, I'm still relatively new when it comes to Mezco 112 stuff and stuff that's very much covered from head to toe in soft goods like this, but I think he moves pretty well, and I'm really overall happy with the end result on this figure. So let's see what he can do as far as moving him around, see what he can do as far as articulation. So we've got a head that can look up pretty good. It's just a ball peg going up there, and then he can look down really, really good. You do have some pretty serious tilt on this guy as well, and then of course full rotation, but his head is, you know, one of those where his neck is a little bit oddly oriented, so if you kind of twist him, he looks a little weird, but it's just the way he is. You of course have got this jacket on him, so that does get in the way of articulation to some degree. I mean, he can still get his arms out pretty far, and this doesn't really come across to me as a huge negative or anything. I mean, obviously if he didn't have the jacket, it would go further, but ultimately he's still a man in a coat, so it does work out okay. He can get his arms forward about that far. You do have to kind of watch the fabric here, and then they go backwards. There is no bicep swivel on this guy, and what, as best I can tell, is a single jointed elbow with rotation, and the range on that's pretty good. It's slightly better than 90, and then you've got ball hinges at the wrist, so he goes all over the place here, full rotation up and down, and then of course in any direction you want. Now as far as torso, he goes backwards a pretty good bit. Get him to kind of lurch backwards like that, and then he goes forward really, really good. So get him to hunch over like that, and then you can twist up there as well. And then he does have a little bit of movement down at the waist. So there's still some good movement in here. Of course, you do have to deal with the jacket, but it doesn't really get in the way. It's just one more thing to kind of take note of. Legs go out pretty far. They kick forward about that far, and then they go backwards a little bit. There is a thigh cut up in there to kind of shimmy around with. You've got double jointed knees, and then we've got what I assume is a ball hinge or just a ball peg down at the ankle. I can't really tell. So you've got hinge up and down, a little bit of rocker action, and then you do have rotation down there as well. So, I mean, this guy moves around really well. I don't really have any true issues, especially for the character. You know, for what he is, what he did on film, I don't really have too many problems with the way he moves or the style in which you can articulate him, because really you can just get him into some creepy poses. He doesn't need to be doing acrobatics or anything like that. So as far as the figure itself goes, I think it translates the character pretty nicely. Now, as far as the overall aesthetics, the look and feel on this figure, frankly, that's where my interests lie. I mean, I say that all the time, and I say that all the time when it comes to doing these reviews, but the aesthetics are everything when it comes to figures for me. And this guy looks absolutely wild, and a lot of that comes down to the style for just the overall expression and the style of head sculpt that we've got going on here, and then of course the soft goods, because this guy isn't exactly exactly the, film version of Nosferatu. This is certainly not 100% Max Schreck Nosferatu. I certainly don't think it is anyway, because it very much doesn't really look like him. But at the same time, it does. It has that hallmark look while being slightly more grotesque in some ways, which I think is pretty fantastic. But as far as the figure goes, I mean, a lot of him is, of course, kind of basic. So he's got like tights on down at the legs, which look really good. They fit him really well. No issues with it. Nice patterning on there. And then he's got these, very old world style shoes, kind of leather shoes on, which look really good. Nice kind of wrinkles all over, and then you've got the laces that run up them. But the jacket is maybe the biggest thing that draws me into this figure, of course, outside of the head sculpt, because it does seem to fit him really, really well. Like, there's a little bit of looseness to it, but not really. It's certainly not snug, but it's not just kind of flapping all over. And then you've got all of the tattered aspects of it as far as the sleeves, and then the end of the jacket as well, the fringes of it, with a little bit of dirtiness on there, so it's got a little bit of muck and grime. And then you've got the clasps. He does have another shirt on underneath as well, or it's a scarf or something. I can't really tell, but you do see more fabric, gray fabric, that is actually poking through the collar of the jacket, which is really nice. But of course, a lot of that is covering this grotesque, nasty skin that he's got. So he has these very dare I say, vampiric looking hands. He's not called the vampire, but of course that's what he is. And he's got great sculpt on these hands. They look really good. A lot of wrinkles and just kind of age and nastiness to them. And then of course the claws look fantastic, with a lot of paint applications to make them look just, again, grotesque is the best way to describe it. They just look extra nasty on this guy, and I really think Mezco did a pretty bang-up job. For someone like myself who isn't necessarily so into horror stuff that he buys a lot of horror toys, this is one that I had to get because of the aesthetics, because of the look, because I really think they captured an idea of Nosferatu here really, really well. And outside of the fact that the soft goods absolutely add another layer of just kind of cool factor onto this figure, it really, truly all comes down to this head sculpt, because this thing is gnarly looking. And I really couldn't be happier with the way this turned out. I think they've got a good Count Orlok going on here. So you do have the very rat-looking design here. I mean, that's a big central theme when it comes to Nosferatu and him, and how he kind of conveys himself, and how he spreads his influence and his evil, so to speak, I guess, is one way to say it. And he just, has a very rat-fink looking design with the pointy ears and the teeth. You would think bat, but at the same time, it very much comes across as a kind of vermin look. He looks like a rat man. And I think that works really, really well here. The sculpt on the head is tremendous. Wrinkles and just sort of age all over him. And then, of course, you've got those dark, sunken sockets for the eyes. There's a lot of, dry brushing in there. You've got the other shading for the kind of grimy brown, and then you've got those just evil black holes for eyes. So I think they did a really fantastic job here. They capture a really, really solid idea for what this character is pretty expertly when it comes to this head sculpt. Now, I figure for this guy, we probably do need to talk about size and overall scaling, because he's certainly not a large, imposing character, so he's not a large, imposing figure. He's still creepy, but he's not overly massive and imposing. He's not that kind of figure. So here he is with, well, the only other 112 I've got access to at the moment is my Baron Benz, and then you've got him here with the movie He-Man, so you can get an idea of what he looks like with another 112, and then a 7-inch style figure. So let's move him away, and then we've got him here with Goku from Figuarts, and then move the Baron away, and here he is with a Black Series figure. So our Jedi Revan, and then we've got him here with a Green Goblin from the retro Spider-Man wave. So you get an idea of what he looks like with some regular, Hasbro figures, with an import figure, and then with a few other smaller lines like Motu Classics from Super 7, and then the Baron Benz from the Rumble Society stuff from 112. So you get an idea of what he looks like. He's still a pretty nicely sized figure. I'm not sure exactly if he's going to be more easily fudged into everything, but he works pretty well in a general sense. I like the way this guy is sized up quite well. All right, now as far as accessories goes, this guy is, well, he's loaded. Let's just put it that way. He is loaded with accessories. Comes with a lot of cool stuff. And then he comes with, well, I mean, if you know anything about this release, you know what the big one is already. And let's just run through it all. So to start with, I've changed him up a little bit. So we've got this pretty fantastic hat, and I absolutely love this thing for just no reason at all. I think it's just a fantastic addition to the figure. It's a very unique style of hat, a different thing to add on to him, and you know, just pop it on his head there. So that's pretty cool to start out with. We do have a few other heads. So we've got this guy right here, which is the screaming head. So he looks incredibly angry. He's got all of those teeth exposed, very, very angry expression. And then you've got this one here, which is him, you know, almost kind of like contemplating, a little bit more subdued. So I do like this one as well. I mean, they all three very much fit certain instances with this particular figure. And then we've got some extra hands here. So we've got one left hand here that is a kind of gripping hand. We've got a left hand that is an open style pose, very clawed hand. You've got a right hand here, which is a crooked finger, almost kind of pointing, depending on how you want to use it. And then you've got a kind of clawed hand for his right also. So you've got a smattering of extra hands. And then we've got a few other more specific things. So we've got his set of keys here. And I don't know that these are metal. They don't really feel metal to me, but they are all individually sculpted and all hung on the ring here. So this works really nicely. You know, you can hold it in his gripping hand here. And then we've got the lantern, which has a great glass design on it. I think the colors are really good. So it kind of looks like it's a flame, like it's actually on, rather than it being translucent or anything like that. So this is really nice. Of course, it's got the actual moving handle there. And then we've got something that's very signature to Count Orlok here. We've got some rats. So we've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, 4, 5, and 6. He's got 6 rats, and they're all a little bit different, but you know, you can just throw them down, put them in his hand, but they all will sit on the ground around him just fine, you know, to spread his evil plague. And then being a Mezco item, we do have a stand. So you've got this big guy right here. So it's got the Nosferatu 1922 logo with the Silent Screamers subline on there. So another one. It does come with the arm as well for this guy. I do like the fact that they include these, although I haven't used them for the figures that I have yet. But I do like the fact that we have the ability to put this guy on something, make him look a little uniform across lines with Mezco. And then, of course, the big thing, the literally big thing with this whole entire release, we do, of course, I'm just going to move him out of the way, we do get his coffin here. And I think this is just the best thing when it comes to this release. So this thing is massive. I mean, it's bigger than the figure, and it's got the door on top. The sculpt on it is tremendous. There's a ton of paint work on it, a lot of line work. It's got the broken piece there so you can see him through it. And then you've got, you know, the slat work on the back. And then the inside of it, of course, has the soil that he comes with. And then you've got the rats that are in there also. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with this particular aspect of this figure. So, you know, you can throw him in there if you want. Kind of drop him in just like so. And then he's ready to slumber a little bit, and then you can pop the top on there, and then you can kind of see him peeking through just a little bit. So I do love this. I mean, the only negative for me when it comes to this thing as an accessory is that I would love to have gotten a second one, although I would have never actually done it. I would have loved to have gotten a second one to have one in and one out, because this thing on its own is a really cool display piece, especially with him just sort of peeking out there menacingly. I mean, that's creepy. You can't get over that. It's just a fantastic idea. So he does come with a ton of stuff. This thing is a massive component of this entire release, but everything else he comes with really rounds out the idea behind this character quite nicely. So yeah, this guy's pretty awesome. That's pretty much what it comes down to. This is normally not something I would have bought. I mean, I'm pretty sparingly buying Mezco stuff anyway to begin with. This one was definitely a little bit out of left field for me because I don't buy a lot of horror stuff to begin with. Very little, actually. But this guy really did it for me. The animation that they did to sell him and preview him was really fantastic. The overall idea behind this figure really drew me in. My only real gripe as far as the overall package is I kind of wish it would have been a little bit cheaper and not include the shirt and the print, because I don't really need those at the end of the day. Otherwise, though, the figure itself is fantastic. The presentation with the lunchbox tin is top-notch. The coffin is amazing. All the accessories that he comes with just overall make a really fun package. And frankly, I've had so much more fun with this guy than I really expected. I was expecting a lot, but I ended up being a lot happier than I even anticipated. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mezco 112 Collective Silent Screamers Nosferatu. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.